I'm here with Kirsten Marples to talk about the exhibition Hyperreal, Gray Foy, which is currently on view at the Menil Drawing Institute. Thank you, Kirsten, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It is wonderful to discover more about Gray Foy's complex and sensitive drawings. I really wasn't familiar with his work. I wondered if you could begin by giving us some background about Foy in this particular selection.
Absolutely. Like you, I wasn't familiar with Gray Foy before starting this project. He was born in Dallas in 1922, so he is a Texas artist, but he grew up in Los Angeles. He then moved to New York in the late 1940s while he was in his mid-20s and would live there until his death in 2012. Foy was, an accomplished draftsperson, and between about the 1940s and the 1970s, he created this body of meticulously detailed and deeply imaginative drawings. And so this exhibition, Hyperreal Gray Foy, includes about 30 of his works selected primarily from the Menil's permanent collection, but complemented also by 7 loans that we have from public and private collections. And so the Menil is the largest repository of Gray Foy's work. We received 2 recent gifts of his drawings. And so this exhibition is kind of a celebration of these gifts and is intended to introduce a broader audience to this singular, tremendously talented, but somewhat overlooked artist.
So Foy was clearly influenced by the Surrealists, but he states, please don't put me down as a Surrealist, and I may turn out to be a realist. What do you think he means by this, and how would you define his use of the word hyperreal?
Yes, yeah. So he was deeply influenced by Surrealism as a young artist. But when he was interviewed in 1948, in his later 20s, he hesitated to label himself firmly as such. I think because, he didn't want to be limited. These kind of terms, such as surrealism, can end up being somewhat rigid and confining. So he brought in other terms like realist and hyperrealism and supernatural to describe his tendencies. I think largely to keep his options open. And so by hyperrealism, I think he meant transcending visible reality, going beyond what's explicitly visible, exploring subjects that he imagined or pulled from his memory, and all the while maintaining this very precise representational quality of realism. So thinking about this guiding sort of concept of exceeding reality allows, I think, for the early work and the later work to really cohere.
Yeah, it's really lovely how he has that technical quality that you see throughout, like the detailed drawings. I wonder if we could talk a little bit about the complexity of the drawings and how you would describe the technical aspects of these works, in particular, like his use of graphite, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, from a technical point of view, they are absolutely astonishing. He was so extremely skilled and had just a very precise hand. And as one reviewer at the time noted, microscopic vision. So he used a hard graphite pencil that he said he sharpened by hand with a razor blade, getting it to the most minute point. He said that he felt like he would spend more of his time sharpening pencils than actually drawing. But, using that minute point, he's able to render lines so unbelievably thin, stippling so remarkably fine. And while he claimed he did not use a magnifying glass himself while drawing, we certainly encourage them for viewers, as looking under magnification really opens these drawings up on another level. He's able to create really remarkable kind of tonal variation using kind of a variety of mark making techniques, whether that's, small linear elements, this very minute stippling, feathering. He's even at times kind of delineating form through like very tiny circles. It's really, it's incredible. And yeah, he would spend months working on a single drawing. He said that he worked kind of clinically as a surgeon kind of would, with very sharp instruments.
That leads me to think of there's a large drawing in the show, um, the one called Dimensions, and it seems like a very important work for his career and of course in the exhibition, the way that it's featured. Can you just tell us more about this specific work?
Yes, so Dimensions was kind of his most important drawing of the first part of his career. It was by far his most ambitious in terms of scale, and it's generously on loan to us from the Museum of Modern Art. And in this drawing, we have a pretty good sense of what Gray Foy thought about it. He explained that he worked on it for over 10 months. This was a time in which he was working at a military aircraft plant, and he was drawing in the evenings as kind of an escape from the tedium of his day job and the realities of the wartime moment. And so he's sitting down, returning to this drawing and others over the course of multiple months, as I said. And he explained that in this drawing in particular, he started in a very specific point and then expanded outward, like letting the composition develop over time, not coming to the drawing with a very specific, like predetermined end in mind, but really coming to the sheet, releasing images from his mind onto paper, connecting motifs kind of through association. So you really get this kind of stream of consciousness sense to the drawing if you kind of if you think of him sitting down and drawing, a little piece each day and kind of connecting it over time. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I think in that work and many of the others, we see a wide range of themes. I was thinking about themes of the realities of war, for instance, domesticity, environmental concerns. Could you talk a bit more about the themes in his work and how those are relevant to audiences today?
Certainly, yeah. The atrocities of war, I would say, certainly come through in the distorted, sort of fragmented bodies we see in Foy's earlier work, including Dimensions, the sense of sort of dislocation and disruption, of chaos, at times of violence. All of this comes through, I think, in that drawing and in others in that first gallery of the exhibition. And unfortunately, such wartime tensions, I think, remain really relevant to us today. And then, yeah, in the later work, we see him developing this kind of environmental or ecological sort of consciousness. But he's always maintaining his like strong artistic imagination, I would say. He's turning to the natural world, but approaching it creatively and with this sense of wonder. He's interested in, kind of biological transformation, in growth and decay in the worlds both above and below ground. So you'll see root systems, you'll see fungi, bulbs, mineral formations. This body of his work might very well appeal to the kind of environmentalists in our audiences, to anyone interested in the mysteries of the natural world. And I would just say that, spending time with these drawings really, for me at least, has reinvigorated my own sense of wonder about nature, about the natural world. And so after visiting, you might start to look a little closer at things, but also allow your own imagination to kind of be set free.
That's really a wonderful sentiment. I think that captures really kind of the experience of seeing the exhibition. And again, I love how you spoke about the transformation in his work, how one reality kind of morphs into another. And I think that that's something really special about this work in particular. But thank you so much.
It's absolutely my pleasure.
It's been great to speak with you.
You too, Hollis.
Find all of our videos and sign up for our newsletter at artthisweek.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.